Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special little preview interview that we have with Amanda Stockwell. We are doing a little interview to promote her upcoming event. She's going to be speaking to the UX Research and Strategy Group on September 28th at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And she's going to be talking about UX research in an agile world. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you so much for taking some time.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Amanda, my first question to you is, so how did Agile come about as the most popular development environment? And how does that impact integration with UX?
Yeah, totally. So I think that a lot of people know what Agile is. Most people have had some experience with it at this point, but a lot of people don't know really where it came from. And the reason that that's important is because it really does impact kind of how UX got integrated. So the thing about Agile is that it's a development environment or sort of development approach that was made by developers for developers to save their own butt when things went wrong. Because what was happening in sort of traditional waterfall experience is people were spending, whether it was a long or a short amount of time, they were doing design work up front. And then they weren't able to adjust as they went. And so they were kind of getting really locked into specific things that they were supposed to build. And they didn't have any flexibility to change things as they went. And as the saying goes, stuff rolls downhill. And so when things weren't working well, or it became clear later on in terms of a project that something wasn't the right solution, or the needs had changed or something, there was no possibility or there was a possibility, but it was really difficult to kind of change course, change plans. So what ended up happening is you get these developers who were working for weeks, months, maybe years on something that they knew wasn't going to really work, or they knew wasn't really what people wanted. And nobody wants to do that. That's not fun. And so they came up kind of in and of the development community kind of came up with this idea to do things like, adjust to customer needs. Great, that's like right up the UX, theoretically up the UXer's perspective. So the challenge with it is that because it was born of development needs, they didn't think about how to integrate design and research along the way. They knew that it was important. They were like, we have to respond to people's changing needs. But it didn't occur to them to figure out the part where they actually integrated it. They just made a point of saying that they need to. And so I think what's happened is that it gained all this traction. It became really popular because everybody was frustrated by the way that it was before, but the only people involved in the solution coming up with it were developers. So they were the only ones thinking about it, and all of the kind of surrounding pieces of it were focused on development. So that leaves some challenges because there was nobody from the design or research world kind of in those discussions. And so understandably, if it's, I wouldn't dare tell a developer how to do their job. And by extension, I think that Agile doesn't always have a good solution for how to integrate design, and especially how to integrate research into their processes, because it was never part of the conversation from the beginning.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Well, don't worry, we can talk way more about it.
Yeah. Mallory, I think you had a question?
Yeah, so I'm curious, Amanda, what are some of the specific challenges when it comes to getting UX research embedded into Agile teams?
Yeah, so there are a lot. And as I said, it was never really thought about from the beginning, but there's two kind of things that I hear all the time. One of them is about team makeup, right? And like on an Agile team, should everybody be able to do everything? So if I'm a researcher and that's what I specialize in, do I suddenly have to learn how to code? Pro tip, no, we'll talk about that later. So some of it is like team makeup and kind of like just how do you actually structure the work and like the cadence. That comes up all the time as an issue. And then the second one related to cadence is the timing. Research is often viewed as something that takes up time. And so one of the ways that I really like to reframe that, and the way that I like to work with designers and devs, is that I set it up so that I'm like, no, I'm saving you time, right? Like if I can spend 2 weeks quickly usability testing some prototypes of some stuff that you might not have to build, think of all the time I'm saving you. But I think it's a perception thing. And there's definitely a little bit of the You have to invest a little bit of time to save a lot of time. But again, kind of back to the Agile beginnings and the way that it's usually thought of is that almost always progress is thought of as working lines of code. And so it's really difficult to demonstrate, well, I prevented you from having to build a bunch of lines of code that you didn't need. And so while that is incredibly valuable, it's really difficult to enumerate and to show, kind of progress, especially to an organization that is very focused on that kind of take on Agile, which is all about kind of making sure that working codes happen. Because sometimes the best thing that research can do is tell you what not to build, or how not to build something. And so it's a lot easier to show progress on something, even if that something is crap, than to show progress of, look, we don't have to do this, or, we're kind of switching direction. So those are all things that we just have to know about and kind of know how to navigate.
Absolutely. Yeah. You talked a bit, Amanda, about some of the different challenges and whatnot. So are there some solutions that will work for every single Agile team?
Okay, get ready. Everyone in Agile is a special snowflake. We all are a little bit different. Every single team, even within the same organization, every team is a little bit different. And one of the beautiful things about Agile, at least in theory, is that you're meant to experiment, explore, find what works for your specific team. So that being said, I have worked with, at this point, probably hundreds of different Agile teams. So I have definitely seen some things that I have seen work pretty consistently well. And I will get into those when we talk. But also, one thing that I always like to remind people is that there is no one right solution. There is no one right mandate of things. There is no UX research in Agile manifesto, although maybe I should write one. And the number one rule should be, don't listen to any of the rules, do what works for you. So there are definitely some things that I have seen work, but I always tell people to take it with a grain of salt and to really ensure to focus on experimentation within your own team. What works for the particular people on your team, the particular type of product you're working on, the organizational kind of atmosphere and culture, all of that stuff will impact. And so I can give you a million tips that worked beautifully for another team, but if you don't kind of test it out and customize it for yourself, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's a true point. I feel like every Agile team I've been on has done it slightly differently. I'm sure no one's doing it in a pure method. So you do need to iterate and adjust your Agile process to your team dynamics as well. So yeah, excellent. 100%. Thanks for that. Amanda, this has been so much fun. I'm going to share the screen again and remind everybody that you'll be speaking to UX Research and Strategy on September 28th. That's coming up. You can scan this code and get a free ticket via Eventbrite, or go onto Eventbrite, or visit the UX Research Strategy website and you can get a ticket there. Lots of ways. This is going to be a fantastic event. You can already see she's super enthusiastic and a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to this topic. So again, September 28th, get your ticket on your Eventbrite, UX Research in an Agile World with Amanda Stockwell. Thank you so much, Amanda, for your time. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. And everyone, if you've got questions, feel free to either kind of wait up for them and ask me then, or you can reach out to me beforehand. I'm easy to find on the interweb.
All right, excellent. Thanks so much, Amanda. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.